Hi, Andy Evans here, part 22 of making your guitar in your garage. Okay, so I've had the jescar gold Evo fret wire delivered from Tone Tech in the UK. Bill was very helpful, thank you Bill. Okay, the first thing I noticed, this is my fret bender, believe it or not, my fret radius, so you know, to bend the radius. Nickel silver, I can bend nickel silver around this very easily, no problems. I just bend it by hand. I've got the new gold Evo stuff and I cannot bend it. This stuff is a lot harder, you know, so that's a good thing. It's going to last longer. It looks very pretty. It's got a gold look to it. It's not got any gold in it, but it's a combination of different metals and it looks like gold. So it's going to go on a white guitar. I'll show you my white guitar. I think you've seen it before, but it's going to go on this white guitar. It's going to have gold hardware, so it's going to look the business, you know. So the only problem is now, normally when you fret a guitar you need to have the radius the same as the fingerboard, or on nickel silver frets a little bit more radius, a tighter radius than the fingerboard. As you can see from that, that's not a tight enough radius. So I need to make a fret bender. This is not working, so that's my next plan for that white guitar, is make a fret bender, bend these to the correct radius, maybe slightly steeper, very small amount. On nickel silver frets you normally bend it steeper, and then by the time you bang the middle in it all flattens out. Well, I'm not quite sure about these because I've never used this Evo Gold before. It's very hard, so maybe I just bend them to the exact radius. Okay, so I'll put that to the side for now, put my champagne bucket there, put that on hold for when I've got some good champagne. Yesterday I was thinking about nuts on guitars, different materials for nuts, because obviously I'm getting close to finishing one or two. I need to start thinking about getting nuts, and you've got all your different nuts. You've got you've got brass, you've got graphite, you've got bone. Yesterday I was looking at this old piece of ebony around and I was thinking that's the correct thickness for a nut. So I thought, why not? So I made an ebony nut yesterday. I know they used to use them on violins a long time ago. And I started thinking about nuts, you know, about the tone and things like that. And I was thinking, when you do a chord on a guitar, a bar chord, you're using your finger to do the bar. The fret is redundant. It's not being used. The nut is redundant. It's not being used at all. So it's not going to make any difference to the sound, I think. You know. So the only difference is when you play open strings. So I've gone with a ebony nut on my green guitar, which I made yesterday. I made the nut yesterday. I don't know if you can see that. Glued it on. So I'll give this a go and see what it sounds like, you know. But say most of the time, if you're doing a bar chord, the nut is not being used. It's only on the open, you know, like an open A minor or E minor, or just the open notes where you're going to hear the sound coming from this. I think that's correct. I'm sure there's people who disagree. But I'll give it a go. Apparently get more of a woody sound with this, not as bright. But you know, I've made it now. I'll give it a go. If I don't like it, I can knock it off and put. If I want a brighter sound, I'd put a brass on it, or bone. Bone is good. Put a bit of graphite powder in the bone. Same with the nut, a bit of grease or something. I can put graphite in this from a pencil or graphite powder. Okay, so when you cut your nut slots, it's very important not to go too deep, you know, because if you go too deep it's going to buzz and rattle and things like that. You can get all the files off the internet. A good way of marking the string depth is get a pencil, sand it in half so it's exactly half the pencil, put it on a machine or sand it by hand, put it on top of your frets and draw a line like that, and that should be your depth of your slot should be just slightly higher than that that pencil line. Okay, so I'll put that to the side for now. I've got this other guitar that I'll show you that I've got coming on the way. This is where my ebony came from. I bound the edges with ebony yesterday. I don't know if you can see those black edges there. This is a teak fingerboard again. Lots of teak lying around because I fix up boats, you know, for a living. I've put some finish on the front just because I had some spare leftover spray. So it's a bit rough at the moment, but I'm building the front up. This has got a buck match veneer on. I don't know if you can see, it's quite dark. Yeah, you can see it there just about. Okay, but it needs a bit of attention. That's quite nice there, that over there. It's not flat yet. It's actually very thin, this guitar. I got some 28mm mahogany free, quite a lot of it, and it's too thin for a guitar really, and I was thinking, what should I do with it, you know? So I just started cutting out guitars, and then I thought I'll worry about it afterwards. I'll either put a front on it or a back on it, you know. This needs, I got carried away with this one, put veneer on the front, so I need to put some type of back on it. I don't know what, maybe like a rosewood back or something, I'm not quite sure yet. But the moral of the story is, I was listening to Ben from Crimson Guitars 6 months ago, and I quite like his podcast, you know, I've been watching him religiously. And he gave some very good advice, and that was, if you want to make a guitar or start making guitars, just start, you know, make some sawdust, was I think were his exact words. And it's very good advice, because if you think it through too much, and you think, oh, I need this tool, I need that tool, I need a bandsaw, I need a planer, I need this, and then you work out the cost of everything, you might not even get started. Some people might get started, some other people might be afraid to, you know, they think, it's very expensive. So I took his advice, and this was probably a year ago. I started doing all this, the templates and this, that and the other. As I say, I used to make guitars a long time ago, so I've got a lot of ability from the past, you know, I've got a lot of history from the past that I can draw on. But he gave some very good advice. Get started, make some sawdust. Your first guitar is not going to be perfect, or maybe it is perfect, depending on, you know, but if it's not perfect, don't worry about it, make another one. And eventually they'll get better, and your techniques will get better, and you'll invent some machines along the way, and jigs and templates. So that's my next one that's on the way. This is actually a bit cheating here. It's actually part of a Les Paul. This is a Les Paul, the bottom half, and I just flipped over a Les Paul, drew around it. So it's basically the bottom of a Les Paul, symmetrical, as I think is the word, or yeah. So that's a Les Paul horn, and that's also a Les Paul horn there. Changed it slightly, just a little bit, and I've changed the headstock slightly, made it smaller. Prefer it a little bit smaller, I don't know if you can see that. So, yeah, that's the next one you'll be seeing. The fretting, this is a total different thing than just fretting, because it's bound the edge, you have to trim the edges here, you know, and I'll show you that as I come to it. Okay, if you've got any questions, please leave me a message or press the subscribe button. I'm just going to talk about tremolos for a minute. Okay, so you've got all your different tremolo systems. You've got the strap type that go out of tune a lot, because you've got the string trees here. If you haven't got locking tuners, when you do that with the tremolo, the strings come undone and they don't always return to the correct tension. So the old tremolo, the old Strats used to go out of tune a lot. So the idea around that, when you put locking tuners on, the problem with the Strats, you need string trees, because the neck is not radius sloping back; it's a flat neck like that. The string trees catch the strings a lot of the time. So then, like Floyd roses and Kahler trems were invented. I've fitted quite a few Floyd roses and Kahler trems. On the Floyd Rose, I don't like the fact that you've got that locking nut there. To me, the strings feel really tight at that end, you know, at the nut end. I'm sure lots of people like them. We used to make a really good tremolo. It was a bit like a Strat one, but instead of the 6 screws across here, we had 2 little pins like that. 2 tiny pins sticking out of the front of the bridge on the tremolo. That went into a bar with 2 conical holes drilled into it. And these 2 little pins pivot on these pins. It was same sort of springs as a Strat at the back. The back of it was a bit, you know, like a Strat. But we didn't use a locking nut. We use graphite nuts here. We use locking tuners. We had a very slightly angled headstock, just enough, not too much, less than a Gibson. We had straight string, the 6-in-line tuners, so the strings were in line, and that held really good tuning stability. I'll have to find out if I can pick up one of those tremolos and show you, you know. But yeah, that was back 35 years ago. My boss invented a very, very good tremolo system that didn't go out of tune. Okay. Alright, I think that's it for this podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. I'll get this fret wire. I'll maybe make a little bending jig. Maybe I'll do that today. A little machine for bending that. I need to bend it somehow. Stay tuned and I'll get this guitar fretted, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.